It's time. Hello, it's Wednesday night, and I wanted to jump on here real quick. Unfortunately, our service tonight has been canceled due to the possibility of real bad weather, and we want to make sure everybody stays safe. But I wanted to jump on here real quick and do a real short devotional. We talked a month ago about this concept under God, or it's not what but who. We talked about Ecclesiastes, and it's a point that I wanted to go over again, just to give you an idea, because I think it's a real important idea, concept that's essential to our development. What is the first thing that comes to mind when I say under God? Personally, my first thought is the Pledge of Allegiance. Not to make things political, but I think there's a reason we've got this phrase in our pledge. To describe that reason, I want to take you back to a book that was written approximately 3,000 years ago. This book, in my opinion, is probably the most depressing book of the Bible. At least on its surface, the book addresses the purpose of our lives. It comes from an individual who is gifted with wisdom by God, and an individual that spent a lot of his time writing down wise proverbs and using his wisdom to bring prosperity to the kingdom. The book starts by proclaiming that everything is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 1:2 says, "Meaningless, meaningless," says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil in their sun? Generations come, generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. This is kind of jarring when you first read it, but in a sense, I see where the writer is coming from. And this is an issue that I think many struggle with on a daily basis. Where is the purpose? Where is the happiness? Where is the joy? If you're like me in any way, you may be asking yourself this very question. In fact, when we look closer at the book of Ecclesiastes, we find that it's being kind of a downer on purpose, because purpose is the very purpose of the book. It wants to highlight the big questions like, why are we here and what are we here for? In a sense, it's probably one of the earliest philosophy books to exist, because it's wrestling with these questions that most cultures wrestle with. So don't be alarmed. It does answer the question, and I think it answers it in a way that is very profound. So let's look at a few things that some people might try to find their happiness, purpose, and joy. The first thing is in what we have. The first place that we typically look for purpose, happiness, and joy is through what we have. If I just get my license, then I can drive around and be independent. If I can just get this car, if I can just get this new phone, then I can be happy. If I just have a little more money, I can pay all my bills and my problems will go away, then I will be happy. Then I will have joy. But it turns out that this too can be meaningless. And it's not just material haves, but immaterial haves as well. We might say to ourselves, if only I had enough friends, if only I had enough followers on Instagram or TikTok, if only I were creative or smart, then I could be happy and I can find my purpose. Then all my worries, my problems here and there will go away. Then I might feel like I'm wanted, I am loved. But all of this can be meaningless, leave us feeling empty. These things are values we put on ourselves to have some level of purpose or happiness or joy, but it is all meaningless. Ultimately, if our motivation to acquire things is purpose, happiness, or joy, then we will be left feeling empty. We will be left feeling broken. Meaning is not found in stuff. Ecclesiastes 5:10 says, "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This is also meaningless." All the money in the world and all the stuff in the world will not leave us satisfied. So what's the second thing that we look for happiness, purpose, and joy? It's in what we do. It seems to be built into the American mindset that if I could just work hard enough, I can leave everything I want, everything I could ever need. Perhaps I could be the next Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, if only I work hard enough. But even our work does not bring satisfaction. Even our work is meaningless. We hear story after story of individuals working as hard as they could to achieve the goals that they set for themselves. But once they arrive at their goal, they have neglected those around them and those that they love. They worked hard and achieved everything they worked for, but something was missing. It seems that the American mindset is missing something. This idea that our work somehow brings purpose doesn't seem to be working out. But even if we see this in our churches, we get the idea that our purpose as Christians can be found by what we do. It's not. The church today has been caught up in what we define to be moral or biblical. We have made it our purpose to blame and call out those who don't follow our scripture and traditions, all the while creating an atmosphere of judgment and animosity. We have focused so much on what we do and what others do that we have forgotten that this too is meaningless. Notice that the things that people most commonly look for happiness is in what? It's in what we do and what we have. These things are ultimately meaningless because it's not about what we have, but who we have. It's not about what we do, but about who we do it for. Our happiness and our purpose is founded in who? It is found in Him. The book of Ecclesiastes starts with the phrase meaningless, meaningless. Everything is meaningless. And ends with remember your Creator. It's not about what, it's about who. Everything under the sun is meaningless. Everything that we do for this earth for a what will ultimately be fruitless. It may offer temporary satisfaction, but will never offer permanent purpose. Yes, that includes family and friends. It includes the relationships that we build in Oasis Student Ministries, but even more, it includes the relationship that we have with our Creator. The book of Ecclesiastes goes on and on about this phrase, under the sun, and what Solomon is pointing out is how everything that we do on this earth under the sun is meaningless unless it is done under God. Every effort that we make for ourselves, for the advancement of what humans might define as success, will ultimately leave us feeling empty and unfulfilled. It is ultimately meaningless. Our purpose is found in our relationship with God. Any effort that we make under God is full of meaning. It is where we find joy, the living water that will make us never thirst again. So what have you been chasing? What has been leaving you feeling empty? Perhaps it's a sin, but it doesn't have to be. It's anything that we chase for selfish reasons. That doesn't mean that we neglect ourselves, but what it does mean is that our selfishness ultimately edifies the self. When our motivation is to serve God and others, it has the side effect of uplifting us. This doesn't mean that we do it for ourselves, but it does mean that we are not neglecting ourselves through our service. These things that we chase can leave us empty. What it requires is a refocus from ourselves to God. We have to ask ourselves in everything that we do, if we are doing it in service of ourselves or in the service of God and others. So tonight, as we wrap this thing up, as we wrap up this devotional, ask yourself, what is my motivation? Am I coming to church just to go through the motions? Am I trying to live this way just because I want others to see how I'm living? Or am I doing it for that relationship with God? Because ultimately, if you're doing it for other people, if you're doing it for this world, then it'll be meaningless. But if we do it for God and we do it for Him, it's filled with purpose.